Good day, everybody. This is Popcorn and Opinions with another episode and a happy new year. We are racking up a new interesting episode today. It's Frankenstein. And boy, what a movie. It was a adventure. I enjoyed this movie so much, but we actually have some exciting things for you today. We have our very first guest on the show, and his name is Theo. Theo, how about you introduce yourself?
It's good to be here. Listened to the show a bunch of times, and when I got invited to join, it was absolutely stunning and not an opportunity I could miss. So I actually know these two boys from work. We work together. We're all massive nerds when it comes to the movie space. We love the movie Frankenstein, and I do like talking. So, I mean, all of those elements coming together made this appearance happen.
We need to get into the depths of this movie. So I'd like to go about the plot. And Theo, as your first step into this new brave new world, what did you think about this movie? The plot from the start to the end. How did you feel?
I think for us to do this movie justice, we have to present ourselves almost as impartial third-party observers. So I think there's a lot, like there's the good, there's the bad, and there's the ugly that really stood out for me. And feel free to disagree with me on some of these points, but I would like to focus on the good first, because my word, what a movie. I was really excited when I saw it, the entire visual. I watched the trailer and I had to put the trailer off like real soon to avoid any spoilers. The way that the story is structured from the beginning, where you deal with Frankenstein and then you move to the creature and then you move to where they're together and the eventual ending, just that entire structure feeling almost novel-like a nod to Mary Shelley in the way that she wrote it. That was absolutely insane. The way that the story was started, the way that the creature was portrayed, and where you feel for the creature in a different way that most of these Frankenstein movies don't. It was stunning from beginning to end, and it was really easy to watch. I couldn't find myself even pausing the movie once, even to go to the bathroom. That being said, I do feel like there's a few things in there that kind of caught me off guard. For one, Victor Frankenstein. He felt a little bit flat for me as a character, like compared to the stunning way that the creature was represented. It was almost a little bit difficult to put yourself in his shoes. His motivation was a little bit dubious. I couldn't really get behind that. And I keep forgetting the name of the guy that funded him. The guy who had to take the mercury.
I'm thinking about
Herr
whatever.
Herr
There we go. I think that sort of proves my point a little bit in terms of the storytelling. He was supposed to be this catalyst, this thing that causes great trauma and turmoil, that forces Victor Frankenstein to make all of these decisions and makes the plot go forward. But from the moment where he reveals his intentions, I think it's like 5 minutes later, and he's completely dead, and he's out of the story.
That was very weird for me as well. I think that there was this great turmoil, this curiosity. Okay, what's gonna happen? What's this monster? What's this new creation? What's this surpassing death thing gonna be? And then all of a sudden it's just...
And then there's no consequences after that point. After that point, like, Victor gets away with it and there's no more effect on the story. And he becomes a forgettable character where he was set up to be such an insane part of the story. That doesn't take away from how incredible the story was told. This was a story about a father and a son healing the relationship that it has with its father. And Frankenstein was brilliantly used as the canvas to paint this story on. That was the medium used to tell the story. You could see so much of the director in that story, and most likely the relationship he had with his father and that eventual forgiveness at the end, beautifully told, and the actual way that this creature it invites this in the beginning, this feeling of like, what is this actual danger, that was just insane. I loved this story completely.
The main thing of Victor like trying to conquer death, in terms of that, was also a key plot element in terms of playing God and then the consequences of doing so, because I was very obsessed with when his mother died, like trying to overcome this so he would never have to feel this again. So I feel like that drove his obsession to conquer death in a way. So, and like how you can see from the monster that he had, the monster that that he created, the dynamic of when you have immortality or can conquer death, you end up being lonely in that way.
And I mean, that's also the part where old Frankenstein's monster, or Adam, or I'm not even sure what his real name is.
Yeah, what was his
but
name? Do you know?
They
The
called him
monster is
Adam.
usually, yeah, they call him Adam just to give him a name. But essentially, the point is it's Victor Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. And culturally, the monster has now been known as Frankenstein.
Known as
But
Frankenstein.
in this movie, they called him the creature. So, I mean, you can refer to them as Adam, as the creature, as Frankenstein's monster, or Frankenstein if that's fun, because that's what people know it as.
Okay.
I have to say, the whole point is Frankenstein, the monster, the creature, Adam. He portrayed that actual human element that was needed in this story, and we've seen that he also wanted that companion, and that's the point that I wanted to come back to. Is he's got this eternal life, he's got this eternal battle with death that he just wants to die, but now he's going to spend it alone. So obviously that is, I think, the most human thing that can be, is to request somebody to be with him, because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be alone.
Yeah, didn't he say that? Didn't the creature, when he went to that wedding, when he was with Victor in that bedroom, and he said, "Can you make another one of me so that I won't have to live this life alone?" Basically.
That's inadvertently what he said. I mean, he said,
And I feel
someone like me.
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of the tragedy that you then get, because by the end of the story, he's doomed to be that. The one person that can create that companion then passes away, and he is now doomed
Well,
to
doesn't
spend
even want
eternity
to,
alone.
because he didn't want to do that. Also, it's like,
Yeah.
in terms of, you created me without me, without, like, in terms of, you created me to be this thing, and now that because you thought I was this, and then I kind of let you down with your own false expectation, now you don't want to make something, or you can't kill me, so now I'm just forced to be here when I don't want to be. Like, even if you look at it towards the end of the movie, he keeps on saying, "I want you to kill me, or else I'm going to hurt you," sort of thing.
Mm.
And then he doesn't get the satisfaction of death in that way.
Yeah,
But I
it's,
have to... Okay,
yeah.
no, sorry, you too. No,
no, you go, Owen. You looked ready for that one.
I was, but I mean, but then you have to look at the point of, I'd say, the creature's upbringing and his teachings, that he learned to forgive even his master now, that put him through this eternal damnation. So that was also very, very wholesome, that he went and forgiven that point and actually called him father again. That was,
Yeah,
I thought that
it's
was amazing. It
beautiful.
adds to the beauty of this plot.
Yeah, I think that's why the idea of this is a story about a child and a father, because that entire plot was made very apparent in the beginning of Victor's story. With him having a very abusive father, a person just focused on results and being correct and knowing everything, and even getting one answer that is extremely specific knowledge wrong, and then being beaten for it. That set up the motif or the main narrative for what Frankenstein was going to go through. Because the moment Frankenstein was there, Victor was so ashamed of what he's created that he required the same level of knowledge from the creature as his father did, and he would also abuse the creature if it didn't perform. And that cycle just repeating, and how the creature could break out of that and just say, you know what, I forgive you and I can call you father, and then move on, even though it knows it's going to spend eternity alone and it's now forever damned because of the decisions of its father, and it still could break that cycle. I think that was a very, very beautiful moment for me.
Absolutely. And I think this was so well written.
Yeah, I feel like also that it plays into the saying of, you fight against something that you hate the most, you end up being the thing that you end up hating. Because it's like Victor didn't like that his father kept doing that, didn't show him love and affection and all of that, and then he basically became his father to the monster or the creature, and doing the exact same things that his father did. So yeah, okay. Moving on to what did you think of the characters?
So which
Um,
character are we starting with?
I mean, I can. Let me start with the bad, and then we can get to the good.
That's
I
your
feel like it's
framework.
good to end on a It's good to
Always good
end
to
on
end
a
on a
positive
high.
note.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really liked this movie. It felt for me like the sub characters or the side characters. They basically had three purposes. It was either to die, to react to something, or to represent innocence. Like that was the main. That was all they were. Like forget it and again because he turned out to be so forgetful. The founder was he existed to die.
Yeah.
He existed to
100%.
die. That death was the point where the creature came there, and that was like the climax of his entire involvement in the
Yeah, like
entire
I feel like
show.
he could have been he could have had a better role in that. Like I feel like he's like they didn't know what, like they built him up during this thing and then they like just dropped him because they didn't know what to do with him after that whole thing. And
Yeah.
he could have been such a good conniving character, something with like doing it for like hiding his true intention. And then when his intention was found, then it's like, okay, let's just kill him off now. We've already been 2 hours into this movie. We're running out of time here, sort of thing.
I think it has some effectiveness when it comes to now all of a sudden he knows he's dying and he's the only guy that knows he is dying. So now all of a sudden we have a success. So now I have to act fast because I'm dying and I want a solution now. So I think it was, in my opinion, I think it was fitted because it's the whole thing of okay, I can survive forever. So no, Mr. Frankenstein, you're gonna heal me right now, like right now, and it's almost like identical to that scene. So and him trying to jeopardize that was, I think, it was perfect, but where I do also agree, not long enough.
Yeah, I think the main thing is how forgettable his end was. Because in reality, he didn't know it was going to work. They had a feasible solution. But honestly, with the way that he was represented throughout the entire story, wouldn't he have waited until the creature was created before putting these demands on Victor? But he wanted to do that immediately, and that ended, and then that got overshadowed by the creature being created. So just because of that order, our entire focus is on the creature because it's like this. It's this shiny object. It's this thing being created that his death meant nothing. And I felt like he had a more pivotal role. Like he was really intimidating. That bathroom scene where he found out that Victor was liking his daughter. Like that was a very intimidating scene, and he could have kept that little bit of pressure on Victor the entire time. And then it was like a rubber band. It was like just a rubber band snapping, and you couldn't fire it.
He had a lot of potential to be a very good hidden agenda, like sort of I'll give you the funding and like keeping the audience on their toes on like what does he want out of this. But like, and then towards the end, yeah, it was very rushed in terms of we don't know what to do with him, just cut him off. And like it was just like he had so much potential to be a really great character and like could be standing with Victor as well as the creature in terms of being like mastermind of this whole thing, sort of thing. He had potential to be there. Okay, what did you think about Elizabeth? Let's go with that one.
I think Elizabeth. Woo! Yeah, I think Elizabeth was the type of crazy that some people would find very attractive. Like for some reason, she was just into absolutely everything that was weird about Victor, up until the point where the creature was created, and then she was so into the creature that it felt a little bit weird. Like just knowing that it's being created, that dynamic for me, it was a little bit unsettling because there's this thing that it's obviously not, it's Slender Man looking, and she just wants to be there. You know, like I couldn't place her moral compass because on one side she's this devout Catholic that keeps thanking God for all of these nice things in her life and all of the successes. But then on the other side, this complete antithesis of what she would expect, she's attracted to that in some sort of a way, not physically, but like she's so curious about it that she just wants to be in that presence, you know? So for me, I couldn't place her moral compass at all.
Well, she was actually physically attracted in a way to the creature. because I mean,
Yeah.
in her final moments, she said like, "Oh, take me with you," and now I know I belong here. When your eyes were gazing upon me, it's not even his own eyes. It's a different creature's eyes or different person's eyes. So, I was also a bit gripped to the fact like this is actually not a human. This is a collection of. So it was a weird fascination or fantasy that she had, and it's weird to see that from the start she had a liking in this whole topic. It's like,
Yeah, so it was difficult to place her moral compass. What did you think, Reason?
I honestly feel like she firstly led Victor on so much because like she first was judging his intentions on making this creature, right? Because she talked about how like with battles and with war, like how they send their sons and then they die so far away from where they were raised, right? To then going on to having a fascination for this creature, like in terms of when Victor was trying to build this creature, trying to find out how to make it work and stuff like that, like she was there, and like I felt like she was sending mixed signals because now it's like you're taking a fascination. You first called the man crazy, then now you're taking a fascination in his work, and you're also questioning him for doing that. And then now that she's a very complicated character, and was also, you could see what she was doing. She wasn't innocent in the way of, she came across like how she wanted to be as innocent, but you could see the underlying intention of, we want to make this creature, let's see how you can like how can I say it? You can string Victor along in this, and then when Victor actually confesses his feelings to her, she's like, no, I didn't think. It's like she was sending a lot of mixed signals, and like how she has a fascination with the creature, it's also a bit unnerving because now you can see like, is there something wrong here from like a mental state on, you are having a fascination here, but then the guy that was obsessed with it, you led him on to making this thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I really, like that was the one character I couldn't really necessarily place, and that was I think that was, in my opinion, that must have been unsettling because if you just think about it, at the point in the story where she does this, Victor also is confused because he's also been getting the same signals that we as the viewer have been seeing, and that all comes to an abrupt end for us and for him, and this entire thing is unsettling for him. So we almost get a small glimpse into what he must have felt in this entire interaction. That's just me tinfoil hatting, trying to explain, what's going on with that character.
I don't even think she knows what was going on.
And let's take the facility, right? This where all the experiments were done. It's in the middle of nowhere, so you had to drive all that way for one thing. So you had to go see Victor. So why did you want to come see Victor? Did he just become a good friend? Okay, but why are you so close to your friend? Come on. And you would call his
also, like,
work
you're getting married.
Yeah, you're getting married.
To his brother.
Yeah,
to his brother. Yeah, this was it was so confusing to me as well. I'm glad we have we are unified in that idea.
Can I spend some time just on Frankenstein? Victor and the creature. Those two were like basically the only constants in this entire movie. And I feel like Frankenstein was exceptional. It was exceptionally written. The creature was just the transformation it went through. That very innocent, hulking figure that doesn't really understand, that could only say one word. And the growth from that to being more human than most people in this movie was just, it felt so natural. Like it wasn't as abrupt as some of these things. Like the relationship between Victor and whatever her name was very abrupt. It was like very hostile, and then suddenly it was further than it should have been. It like felt like we were skipping some steps. With a monster, it didn't feel like we skipped steps. It felt like we actually grew with it. And that turmoil it went through, like when it was in that hut with the family. That's where the biggest growth happened, because it learned to read and to speak, and it saw this and it tried to help, and you could see how actually quite warm the creature was as a, I'm going to call it, as a human being. And having that stripped away, because he was ready to stay there. Like, if we're 100% honest, it felt like if nothing went wrong, if the blind guy wasn't eaten by wolves, he would have stayed there until all of them passed, and he would have seen that little girl grow up. But because of that big scene and that change, and then him being attacked, he had this anger, and he realized that it's like it all sunk in that this is permanent. He's not dying, and he's alone, and he will be hunted, and he's not just alone in terms of love, he's alone in terms of every single other human being on this planet. And he will forever be that monster and having to live with that. And that entire like mental struggle and him growing to that point, that was just beautifully written. I absolutely loved that.
I love the dynamic between Victor and the actual creature, because like towards even the end, like the most powerful hitting quote was like for me was, Victor, you're the real monster in this, because Victor is the human, by the way. Right, and if you looked at how the creature developed during its side of the tale, you could see how like Victor from the previous part, right, of him explaining it, he explained this monster to be terrible, to be stupid, can't do things, all of that stuff. And then when you hear from the creature's perspective, it's like, no, I'm actually more human than you. I can't die, I can't do these things, I'm frustrated. And you're painting a picture of me. That's why there's always that saying, there's two sides to a coin. And you could see the discrepancies between the two stories. And it's like, wow, you actually feel bad for the monster. And yeah, and I felt like that was so well written in both characters. One being human but being a monster, and one being a monster trying to be human.
And
So,
I have to admit as well, with the beauty regarding that upbringing of the creature and that relationship that he had with that old man, that was so pure. And him just wanting that head pat on the head just shows you how deprived he actually was, and how human the creature was, or Frankenstein's monster was, for that bit of, listen, you created me well, you said, but am I well? Am I a good creature? And he longed for that. And up until the
He
very
longed to be accepted, I
last
guess.
moments. Yeah, and just by also the point where he was set on fire from Victor Frankenstein, where he was screaming Victor, 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 Victor the whole time, because, quote unquote, the name meant the world for him. His master's name meant the world for him. So he just wanted to belong, but he was also curious. I mean, let's take also the fact the creature was basically born a baby in an adult body, learning all these new textures, water, the leaf thing that was in the movie. So there was so much more love that Victor needed to pump into Frankenstein, the monster, and make it a more wholesome movie. But due to the insecurities or the lack of depth and character from Victor, he further made the monster of himself.
Yeah, it's crazy how that parallel between Victor and his dad gets drawn, because the monster is basically a mirror of what Victor is not. Victor isolated himself in the pursuit of conquering death, of creating life. And the monster, which was this creation, was isolated because it lived. Like, just that parallel. And it's not just a lack of depth of Victor Frankenstein, the character, it's a lack of depth in the way that he was portrayed in the story. Because it was almost too obvious that the blame should be put on Victor. Like, I would have liked a little bit more ambiguity about who actually is the monster here, but it was a little bit on the nose that, listen, blame Victor. Be angry at Victor, and just this, like, it felt like that could have been portrayed a little bit more subtly to leave it up for you to decide, for you to use your own moral compass. No moral compass was required for this. And I feel like that was a little bit lacking, because a discussion around the movie is what you want. You want art is there to inspire, to create debate, to create discourse. And that entire element of the moral compass has been just a little bit removed.
Definitely a right answer. With like really iconic movies, there's no real right answer. Like you decide basically. So I
and there
get
was
where you're
none
coming
of
from
none
there.
of that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to visual elements / settings.
The visuals were insane. Go, Owen. You go first.
No, please. I'd
No,
love
you're
to
the
hear
guest.
your answer. Yeah, you are. Guess first.
Listen, we watched the same movie. Like, honestly. Okay. Let's start with the bad again. just get it out there, get it done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The cinematography was so beautiful at times that it distracted from the emotion and distracted from the story. Like, there were points that I can remember where I actually just was like, whoa, this shot is framed so perfectly. Oh, look at that. So you're completely just, suddenly you're removed from a person that's immersed into the story to a viewer saying that is epic that I'm seeing. And that little bit of a break, because it was so expertly done, was a little bit, they were too good. They were too
They
good
were suffering
with
from
what
success.
they did. Yes, I think that is a big thing. The other thing is there's a lot of symbolism. Now, I don't know if you guys watched the behind the scenes make of it, but just the interplay of how they used light, because in that time period, they needed to make you painfully aware that electricity didn't exist, because electricity is a very big part of the story. Created the lighting. So all of these scenes, they feel period accurate. There's no additional light that come from at night from where streetlights would be. And that is something that a lot of these period pieces miss, is there's so much light leaking in that the scene feels a little bit like, for you to have that much light, there would be wax on the floor and you would have so many candles that everyone would overheat. Like, that's the type of, and they really dialed in that lighting, the interplay between shadows. It was just absolutely insane the way they did that. And the color play, like Victor's color palette was like this sterile, bold colors, this white and everything. And the creature had these warmer colors, and the nature scene with him and the deer and all of that, and just the entire way that was portrayed. Then I feel like the level of violence plays into the cinematography and the visuals. I feel like there was exactly the right amount of violence for this type of story. It's not a Quentin Tarantino type of movie where there's so much blood that you freak out, but you have to see the creature rip the face off of a wolf to really just grasp like the situation. It's an important thing. Like, there wasn't an excess. Like the scene where they physically inserted the femur into in the leg in that click, like, that's needed. That the body that was crouched over to get it to live, like, that was a very like horrifying scene, but it wasn't over the top.
I jumped with that. He was placing in that electrode into one of those, into the lymphatic system, and when that creature just like rocketed up, I did this karate move with my hands. I was like, so that was amazing.
And that's for me. You need a certain level of violence to show the horrific nature of the story of this specific material,
of this experiment.
But they didn't overdo it and they didn't overdo it for me. They didn't underdo it as well. Like, the violence for me was at that right level where it communicated. Yeah, that's and there's a lot more. It's a very, very nerdy thing, the way that the lights interplayed and the red gloves that Victor wore when he was creating the monsters, symbolizing that, the symbolism, the broken jars at the beginning of the movie, the 3 broken jars, those that represent like mind, body, and soul, that like almost preempting what's going to happen. Like, all of those types of things, like, there was insane. Like, it was a masterclass in cinematography. It was just so good that sometimes it distracted from the actual emotion in the story for me.
I feel like with this, it's like this movie was so well written and so well directed, especially as you said with the visuals. Like, I was stunned with like how crisp everything was, how the lighting, how the colors and everything like that, like how it was done so perfectly. And I do get where you're saying is like it does kind of take away from the emotions of the characters and stuff like that and what you're actually seeing. Honestly, that happened to me. Like I was like in some scenes where I'm like, I'm supposed to be feeling this, but I'm so concerned with like, oh, that looks so crisp, looks so good and stuff like that. And but like what I really like about this whole visuals as well as everything else, it's like you can go into as much research as you can and enjoy the movie to its fullest, but also from being a casual watcher and like if you didn't have any research and going into this movie, you could still enjoy that as well. Like there was no like you didn't have to like know everything about this movie in order to enjoy it, and that's what I really felt like was very good with everything in that.
As a side note, I want to ask you guys why. So I understand that it didn't fit the scenes properly, but why on earth did he not say, "It's alive! It's alive"? I longed for that.
That
That's
that
the
would have
one
been a
thing
very
I
good.
wanted
Yeah,
I wanted to hear that, because I mean, Victor himself, he is freaky. He was at a point so obsessed with this project. I longed for him to relieve his success by a victory screech or some type of thing.
I feel like it would have been nice to have the "It's alive" thing, because then it's a nod to all of the other Frankenstein like throughout history, with like
Yeah.
Victor always saying "It's alive, it's alive." Like I felt like that would have been a really good nod to it. But then also it's its own movie, I guess. So like I feel like
Yeah,
it didn't want to follow down that road, but it also wanted to carve its own thing in that way.
absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if the story lent itself to that type of expression, because
Okay.
remember, Victor just killed a man, and his
Yeah.
entire experiment was
He unalived
now
him.
yeah, and it was and
No,
it was,
no,
and
that's
his
fine. I
experiment
just
was
thought
broken.
about I thought about a Queen reference. Mama, I just killed him. All right. Okay, but carry on.
That's fine. And his entire experiment was in jeopardy, and he actively tried to stop it. Like when stuff started breaking and it just went wrong. That by the time that the creature was alive, I think like it was so traumatic already for Victor, and he was so preoccupied with other things that he almost didn't want it to be. And I think that's part of the reason that goes into the rest of the story is like, this thing is now forced upon me. This thing, it was born out of this tragedy, out of this out of this traumatic experience. And he was proud that he did it, but he almost instantly regretted it.
It's
So
like I
I
won,
don't
but
know
at
if
what
the
cost, sort of thing.
yeah, and I don't think the story lent itself to that. And I'm not completely sure if the "It's alive" is in the Mary Shelley book. I don't know if that's a pop culture thing where someone did it in a movie. And like, I would have to go look at the source material to see if that's actually in there. Because if it's such an iconic line and it came from the book, it would feel like it would be added. But if it was just a cultural thing, that because movies were a lot more satirical or funny or humorous in the way that they were made back then, that reaction might have just been a pop culture reference, not necessarily from the source material.
So
Oh,
I've actually,
yeah.
I have to say about AI, the greatest thing ever is I just quickly prompted it in, and it says the reference comes from the Frankenstein 1931 Universal film starring Boris Karloff. So it
Okay.
is
I
at
think
least from a Frankenstein.
But it's
yeah, no.
not
So
from the
it's
source
part of the movie.
material, but not part. It's part of the Frankenstein franchise, but not from the actual Frankenstein lore versus the actual canon stuff, sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think if the story lends itself to that, I think they would give the nod. But just the way that all of these events transpired, I don't think it lent itself to him having this. And Victor didn't seem like the type of person to have that reaction in the way he was portrayed. He's more a "I told you so" type of person. Look how great I am, than shouting, "Oh, how great is this?" just into the air. Like he would want to show someone, you know. Yeah.
Then I have to ask you your rating then overall of this movie. Like give it out 1 out of or like a number out of 10 as
Yeah,
your
out of 10.
I would.
summary.
I need to say there's an element of I really love this movie so much. Like I was in awe most of the time while watching it. It was great to watch. I was so excited. Everyone that I've recommended it to loved it. And overall ratings of movies, like there's multiple approaches to it. So I'm gonna just explain my approach and then I'm gonna give my rating. If it's in terms of general just enjoyment, there are certain movies like, for example, 21 Jump Street, that would score a 9 out of enjoyment. It's just one of those movies that people like watching, and if you have a reference from it, people know it. And is that the mark of a good movie? Yeah, you see. Is that the mark of a great movie? Or is the artistic style and the exact detailed elements and the way the story is portrayed and everything, is that the mark of a good movie? Because ultimately, that's your choice. But I'm going to go more on the way it was produced. If it was about enjoyment, I would give it an 8.5 to 9 out of 10.
Okay.
On this, I'll probably give it a 7.5 to 8. It was really good. Like it was like the way it was told, the cinematography, the sound, just everything was insane. There was just a few moments that broke the immersion, and there was a few things that were left unanswered and a few things that were ended too quickly. So in terms of a technical perspective, I'll lean closer to 8 because I'm feeling very, very gracious and because I have this nostalgic feeling about Frankenstein and the way it was told, but 7.5 to 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Owen, what did you think?
Good. I wanted to actually ask you first because you popped in and you said 10, so I want to see why you said 10.
Yeah. Actually, no, I was saying like out of 10, like I was doing the scoring thing. But yeah, I would probably give it an 8.5 to 9, right?
Okay.
Like in terms of overall, it was a fantastic movie. Like it was very enjoyable to watch. Would be a highly recommendable movie. So yeah, like overall, like in terms of all the aspects, yeah, it would have been a nice 10 if some of the character, like if they didn't kill off that guy with the hidden agenda. Like I feel like that could have brought it up to like being a masterpiece. But like with downfalls in that, I would have given it an 8.5 to 9 because like there's always improvement upon, like if they made another one, that'd be great. But like that's also going to be very hard because they wrapped it up very nicely. But now maybe we could see like perspective of now when Victor's dead, now this creature, how does it live its life and stuff like that. But overall, I'd give it an 8.5 to 9. Like it was a very good movie, very good structure, very good flow, and it wasn't like how when you have a movie that's 2 hours, like how it gets too lengthy. It was like paced very well. So yeah, I would give that a solid 8.5 to 9. You?
Now, I think it's this might come as a shocker, but 7.5 to 8. So
wow.
in the sense of controversial, but in the sense of the first half, I enjoyed the movie itself. Was, I think, very long. It since I didn't enjoy Victor's part too much. I enjoy the actor Oscar Isaac. He's one of my favorites. I mean, I've enjoyed his work in Marvel. I've enjoyed his work.
Moon Knight? He's there.
He's Moon Knight and he's Apocalypse of the like X-Men universe. More about that. But so I enjoy him. He's a fantastic character and he is a great actor. But I go back to the point where Theo talked about he lost his flair, and we saw him getting to love Elizabeth, but still he said like life gets in the way, but that doesn't say too much like crazy scientist or fanatic doctor to me, because then he started letting love get away. So I didn't think it aligned too well. But when the creatures like part came in, I enjoyed the part 2, the creature's perspective. I enjoyed that very much, and then it took a great turn again, and I got a new sympathy for the creatures. So that was amazing. I enjoyed everything about the creatures plot. Didn't like Oscar Isaac's like act too much, but overall it was enjoyable, and I really would. Moving on to the next one.
Is it a rewatchable or regrettable? So you've answered yours in terms of being a rewatchable. So Theo, what would you say? Is it a rewatchable or
100% rewatchable? 100% rewatchable. I would watch this again and again just to show. I would sit with people and watch it with them. You know, just to make sure people saw this movie.
Yeah.
Are you one of those interesting fact guys where you say, "Did you know this and this and this?" when you watch the movie again?
I'm very annoying to watch a movie with, because I will pause and I will go back. And because on Netflix and on a lot of these streaming services, you can only go back like 30 seconds. I'll have to go back and then I'll have to prep people. But then it goes back so far that I'm like, okay, but wait for it. And
Wait,
then they miss
I
it,
think
and I'll
I
do it
think there's a
again.
setting where you can put it to 10 seconds back. I think there's a setting on Netflix, but I'm not quite sure.
I haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
I've just learned to cope with the struggle.
Yeah. I would also, so this is going to be a clean sweep here in terms of it's definitely a rewatchable movie. I would highly recommend, if you haven't watched it, please go and watch it. Phenomenal from all around pacing, yes, but unfortunately you will need 2 hours and 42 minutes, I think it is, in this movie. You will need some time, so just clear up your schedule on like a Saturday or Sunday. Make sure you're not doing any things, but yeah, definitely rewatchable.
Awesome. This is now about the end of our first episode of 2026. Theo, thank you so much for joining on our first episode. From our side, Popcorn and Opinions, we thank you for your long-lived support from the last year. So we hope to create a nice Spotify Wrapped against the end of, well, up until the end of this year. So,
yeah, Theo, thanks for being a phenomenal guest, for being our first guest. And yeah, looking forward to many more episodes. If you're down to be a part of them, that'd be absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, to 2026 and to bigger and better things with Popcorn and Opinions. So yeah, hope you have a great time. We're on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, as you guys know. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, if you have any questions, queries, or any new ideas, we're always willing to hear. All right, have a great one and enjoy 2026. Bye, guys.